Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's special program of the 2024 United States of America election. We are just days away from what's shaping up to be one of the most pivotal elections in modern American history, with the key issues like the economy, healthcare, immigrations, international relations on the table. Voters are facing crucial decisions which could set the nation's course for years to come. Throughout the hour, we will explore the latest polling numbers, dig into voter sentiments and analysis where the key swing state stands as we get closer to November the 5th. We will also be bringing in the voices of the Americans from coast to coast with live phone calls that reflects the pulse of the country. Tonight, we are also thrilled to be joined by our guest, Dr. Mohammed Al-Haddad, a professor of sociology at Kuwait University, who will help us unpack the difficulties of this year's race and gives us an insight into what might unfold as the election day comes by and so close. We will also have exclusive reports from our correspondent the ground, as well as dive into the latest poll numbers from reputable sources, giving you an up-to-date snapshot on also each of the candidates' stats. Whatever you are tuning in for a depth analysis, fresh insight, or the latest election buzz, we've got you covered in tonight's comprehensive look at 2024 United States election. So stick around. It's going to be fun. The electoral system in the United States is based on an indirect voting process known as the Electoral College, rather than a direct national popular voting deciding the presidency. Americans vote for a slate and the state of electors who are pledged to support specific candidates, and each state has a set number of electors, which is the sum of its representations in the United States Senate as well as the House of the Representatives. Follow more on this following report.
The U.S. presidential election process spans nearly 2 years and culminates in an election every 4 years, specifically on the first Tuesday after first Monday in November. The next presidential election is scheduled for November 5th. To run for president, candidates must meet criteria set forth in U.S. Constitution. These include being a natural-born citizen at least 35 years old and resident of U.S. for at least 14 years. Once a prospective candidate raises over $5,000 in their campaign, they are required to register with the Federal Election Commission. This registration involves naming a principal campaign committee that is responsible for raising and spending campaign funds. Political parties play a crucial role in the election process, holding national conventions to select their presidential and vice presidential nominees. Candidates need to secure a majority of delegates, which they achieve through state premieres, and delegates represent their state at the National Convention, where they confirm their candidate by casting votes. In the event that no candidate obtains a majority of delegates during the premieres, convention delegates may engage in additional rounds of voting to select a nominee. At the National Convention, the chosen presidential nominee announces their running mate for vice president and are classified as their pledged or unpledged. Pledged delegates are bound to support the candidate they were awarded during the primary, process, while unpledged delegates, often referred to, have the freedom to support any candidate they chose. Every 4 years, citizens of the United States participate in general election to vote for both the president and vice president. Major political parties nominate their candidates at the national conventions.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As I promised you that we have a distinguished guest, Professor of Sociology, Dr. Mohammed Al-Haddad. Always happy to be here with you. Honestly, this is the second time, if I can remember.
Yes. Good evening. How are you today?
It's a pleasure to have you. Sir, the world is watching.
Yes.
The state of Kuwait is watching. Everyone in the world is watching for that date, the date of the election, of the American election. Who is going to win? What exactly is going to be the whole situation, the aftermath of the whole election, how it's going to end, and etc. Let's tackle the first thing, the major themes. As we all know that this is the 60th, the American presidential election, and it's kind of a little bit crucial and pivotal for the rest of the world because the world is suffering from different issues.
Yes.
Economy, immigrations, war, conflicts, everything. Who is going to be the leader of the free world in about probably a few days? So what about the major themes that it might define the election cycle from your own point of view? And when you compare it to past elections?
Well, to start with, when we talk about the presidential election, as you said in the beginning, it's a unique type of election where not everybody go and vote for the president. There's electoral delegate that vote, which is 538, and the one who will win, who will get 273 or close to this number. So it's something different from what we are used to in election. But at the end of the day, definitely someone will win, and someone will be the president of United States on the date which is has set for that. Back to the question regarding the themes, which is being discussed and raised by both parties, by Harris as a Democrat, by Trump.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris as a Democrat.
The representative for the Democratic Party.
Yes, and for Donald Trump as a representative of the Republican
Party.
And
she's the reigning vice president.
Yes, he's looking for a re-elect, not as a sequential, but as, you remember that in 2020 he lost for Biden. So now he's running again. So the main issue, which is cross each other by the two parties, let's say start with abortion for the Democrat, migration and smuggling and border for the Republican, healthcare for the Democrat. Does not mean that the other party is not interested in it, but each one expose certain theme. So when you think of all of the themes that is taking place among the two parties, you will say abortion, democracy, migration, economy, healthcare, housing, taxes. It's all issues being raised by both, with a different tackle of each theme.
These
by
are
different
internal issues.
Yes.
And they want to tackle the external issues.
Yes.
Just like the conflicts in the Middle East, famine, poverty all over the world.
Yes. So I think both of them, if you look at each of them, for instance, Kamala Harris concentrate on abortion and concentrate on the idea of equality and what she call in economy, she's calling for equality of economy, where everybody can compete, everybody can succeed, according to what she said in her campaign. Meanwhile, on the other side, the
Donald
idea
Trump.
of, yes, if you think of the Republican headed by Trump, he has a different perspective regarding economy, regarding abortion. During his time, when he was the president, he appointed 3 conservative judges for the Supreme Court, and they took a decision in 2022 to ban the abortion.
That's correct.
Yeah, so it was set in 1973. In 2022, been abandoned, and now the Kamala Harris and the whole Democrat Party is going for this again and fighting for it again, trying to bring it on the scene.
She favors the choice, the freedom of choice regarding the abortion.
Yes, yes. Well, it's not only the freedom of choice, it's also to give each state, maybe separately, to have their own
decision.
Yeah, but to legalize it with a certain regulation of each different state. Now, lately, you hear Trump talking about it, trying to ease his position, because he saw that it is a big issue for the people of America, and especially the young generation. So he's trying to loosen his stand regarding the abortion. For the economy, he's very ethnocentric in economy.
Don't forget, he's a businessman.
Well,
he's
yes,
a billionaire.
yeah, but
he knows what he's talking about when it comes to economy.
Exactly, but he's using ethnocentricity. He's using
his own interest
for his own idea. He created the word in his party. He's considered very, very radical, considered very conservative in comparing to other Republican in his party. He want now a great America, as supposed to. You have
make America great again.
MAGA, as they call it MAGA, M-A-G-A, make America great again. So by doing that, he needs to do certain things. One of the things he has to do, or at least what he's saying to be done, is to limit migration, to deport people. He's said bluntly and in front of everybody, accusing certain ethnicity, certain ethnic groups in the state that they are the cause of everything. The deficit, the employment, unemployment, drugs, crime, and we have to get rid of them in order to set a good economy for the United States.
Your answer is leading me to my number 2 question, which is the key facts and the issues that they are going to go through them in order to win the White House. Let's talk about the Democrats. What exactly they need to do to convince the population to vote for them in order for them to enter the White House?
Well, they have to say clearly and loudly that we are the people who can make a good economy with a good plan. It is not only talk. We are not helping certain people as Trump. Like, for instance, Trump need to reduce tax from 21% to 17% for big companies. Meanwhile, the Democrat calling for raising taxes to make it 27 for the rich people, those families who owns 400,000 a year, they have to pay more taxes than those who make 20,000 or 30,000
a year.
Yeah, so we have to reduce taxes for those poor people, and we have to increase.
And here comes the conflict, because people do not understand.
Yeah,
it's a dilemma.
as you said in the beginning, he's a businessman. He looked to it as a businessman, and if we need to grow up, we have to do this. That's why he was very solid in
and aggressive.
Yeah. Also, when he deal with the economy, for instance, now when we think of China, at least, when we think of China, what he did with China, he raised the tariff. He said we have to put it 60% on when we have When we import things, we have to put 60% on it. Otherwise, we have to put our merchandise also to increase the sending our product to China in order.
This is the Republican point of view.
Yes.
To raise more tariffs when it comes to China.
Exactly. Even the Democrat call for increased tariff, but not as much as the stand of Trump. Trump is looking very aggressive in doing this. He thinks this is the only way if we want to bring America back to
the way it was
the
before.
heydays
Great.
of America. Yes, we have to do that. We have to be very strict in dealing with others. In fact, lately he claimed that you know his situation and his position toward Ukraine and Russia. He blamed NATO that he paid 200 million to NATO. We were paying too much money for NATO. Otherwise, you know, it's better off to withdraw from NATO, because what's the use? They taking the 200 paying for Ukraine, and we should cut this. And his stand toward Ukraine is very aggressive. He's not leaning toward Ukraine. In the other side, you see Kamala Harris, the Democrat, is more leaning to the Ukraine. They want to provide them with military assistance, provide them with what they need exactly to be equal. One of his speeches, Trump, he said it bluntly that okay, we need peace between Russia and Ukraine, but the Ukrainians have to give land to
just like a compensation.
Yes, give them what they want, and because we have to finish it up. And this is even his way of dealing with our Middle East issues.
Okay, Mr. Haddad, let's take a break because we have lots of reports and I want you to collect all your thoughts because we are going to go for a second round.
Okay.
The swing states, also known as the battleground states, the voters are nearly evenly split between major political parties, making them crucial in determining the outcome of the United States presidential elections. In 2024 election, states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia are playing pivotal roles as they have historically fluctuated between supporting Democratic and the Republican candidates. And winning these states often requires candidates to appeal to a broad range of issues and voters' demographics from urban centers to rural areas. With the electoral margin potentially razor thin, both parties are investing heavily in these key states, recognizing that the path to 270 electoral votes will likely be determined by these crucial swinging states. More in this following report.
While the political loyalty of states is divided between the Republican and Democratic parties, the swinging between them remains clear in the swing states to decide the election results and declare the winner of the presidency. The victory of Kamala Harris or Donald Trump in the U.S. presidential election next November depends mainly on the outcome of the votes in these states. The swing states lack fixed loyalty to either political party in the national elections, as they stand as pivotal battlegrounds for presidential candidates. Polls show the support rates in the U.S. state for Biden, Trump, and Harris, and how they changed clearly when Harris entered the race and Biden withdrew. Trump was ahead of Biden until he withdrew from the presidential election, and Harris's entry into the election has turned the tables. Some see Trump as better equipped than Harris to address the issues they care about, mainly the economy and border security, while others see Harris as having a strong advantage in helping union workers. They are roughly evenly divided on who should run the White House, according to recent polls. Studying the historic convergence of swing state votes requires a careful approach to identify potential swing states in future elections. The forecasts are based on factors such as past election results, opinion polls, prevailing political trends, and various developments since the last election.
Dear viewers, in a recent phone calls earlier from Washington, key expert commentator and American Affairs, Mr. Abdulaziz Fahmy provided us with an update with the 2024 U.S. presidential election, highlighting the latest developments and shifting dynamics as candidates move closer to the White House, with a focus on the both party frontrunners, key policy issues shaping voter opinions. The discussion offered insight into campaign strategies, recent polling trends, and the influence of the battleground states. Here's more.
There is only a few days left before the November 5th voting day in the American presidential election. The polls are indicating a very close race, like never been as close as this. 47-47 for each candidate, and the tension is directed toward the swing states. Swing states is where the battle will be won or lost, because the system in the United States is counting the electoral votes. It is totally different than the popular vote, which is the most common way of voting and winning election around the world. But in America, they tried to create a system that balance between the small states and the huge states like New York and California. So they want to make the representation of even the small states as important as the big states. So anyway, bottom line is that the Electoral College, the person who will win the White House has to have 270 votes, and until now, the possibility that any of them could reach this number is very, very close. In the closing days of the campaign, Kamala Harris present a very important voice for General Kelly, who was the head of the staff of the White House for the first half of Trump presidency. And he gave very negative accounting of his leadership in the White House, and basically said that he's not qualified, he only thinks of himself, he does not really think of the people. And Harris took this interview and these sound bites and running ads with it throughout the United States. Now, how Trump respond to this? Trump respond by saying, well, sometimes I did not hire the most successful candidate to fill the jobs in my administration, which is really strange because Trump used to brag about the fact that he hires the best people. So now, because the best people said that Trump is really bad and it's not good and he is fascist, and Harris is repeating this all over the place, and it is it is sinking in with the voting population. So now Trump said, no, well, sometimes I hired bad people, and when I fired them, now they are trying to badmouth me. But a lot of people are not buying this. So that's the race is becoming very nasty, very personal, and it is very, very hard to know who can win this race.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Dr. Al-Haddad. His name Mohammed Al-Haddad. Welcome back, sir. I believe that you took a break, and this is the second round, and we are going to continue with Mr. Trump. He won the election back in 2016, and everybody has his own opinion regarding dealing the economy in the United States, COVID-19, etc. Let's go back a little bit and let's see how he is going to manage to beat Kamala Harris in order for him to regain the position at the White House.
Let's put it this way. The character of president to be elected, Trump, is a unique character. Trump in 2016 is a different charisma, different person than Trump in 2024.
Something changed.
Yes, yes. You mentioned regarding Pennsylvania as a swing state. Mm-hmm. Pennsylvania in 16, it was for Trump. And the late poll, it shows that Trump is not gaining.
It's not leading.
Yes, yes, yes. It's Harris that's leading in Pennsylvania. This is
in
the
the
latest.
Polling.
Yeah. Well, this is the pre-election.
The recent
the
one.
pre-election.
Mm-hmm.
So back to Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump is a businessman, and he sees things through a business eye. He looked to America as a company, as a big company, and he's the one who's running this big company, regardless of the bad and the good. At the end of the day, he wants this company to make profit. The means does not make any difference for him. He believes there is certain things has to be done dramatically, very, very punishable things to be done. Like, for instance, deport people, make America for only the American, put some law, like, for instance, the children born in the state from a foreign country not allowed to have the American nationality. We have to continue building the 750 kilometers wall between the state and Mexico. So he has a dream. This dream is very, well, for him and for his group as a conservative person, is a good dream for the white American. On the other hand, you see Kamala Harris blame him for what happened in El Paso in 2019 when there was killing around. A lot of blacks and Mexicans being killed by the lunatic white people that time, and she blamed Trump for that, and Trump didn't do anything in that regard because he's looking for such thing to scare people to go back to their countries. So he's doing something which a lot of people not used to. He's trying to tackle the ethnic groups, the blacks, the Latino, the Mexican, the Muslim. In fact, which I heard it yesterday in Michigan, they had an interview with some of the Muslims and Arabs, Muslim American Arabs in Michigan, asking them, what do you think of Trump? They said, he's the one we can rely on. Why? Because he is the one who can say to Netanyahu what to do. But Kamala, she cannot do that. So we need...
Because of Joe Biden.
Sorry?
Because of Joe Biden, the president.
Well, now, even if she become a president,
okay.
This is...
I mean, after she becomes a president.
Yes,
okay.
after. She cannot talk to Biden, to Netanyahu the way Trump talked to him. He can order him, he can pressure him to do things that is good for all. So this is Trump. Trump is very rigid person.
Do you think the attempted assassination on him about 2 months ago almost died when he was on a tour somewhere in the States? Some idiots tried to take a shot at him and he missed. Do you think it might help him win the presidency or not?
Well, a lot of people thought this is going to help a lot. In fact, it helped for a certain period of time only. A lot of people thought this will give him, especially when he went out and left his hand up, showing that he's a very brave man and he's not afraid. And
he came out the operation
he's
victorious.
A cowboy. He's a real cowboy.
Victorious.
He's a real American. So this for some American, wow, you know. But at the end of the day, this didn't change anything. After 3 weeks, 4 weeks, things came back to normal. Myself, I don't think this helped him.
So the whole incident died back then.
Exactly. It was
now,
for a short.
It's a
it was for a short
situation.
period of time. Yes.
Different ball game.
Exactly.
What about the early voting? Who do you think that it might favor somebody from these two candidates?
Well, the poll is not really things can depend on, because each poll has a different say in this race. But it seemed like there is no big gap between the two. One day you see 1% Trump, one day you see Kamala.
Fluctuate, just like just like the market.
Exactly, up and down. But even in up and down, there is no big gap between two. The margin.
They call it neck and neck.
Exactly.
But somebody has to win.
It is neck and neck. It is neck and neck.
Do you remember back in 2000 when the election was between George W. Bush against Al Gore?
Yeah.
And they had to count the whole thing by hands, not by the machines, specifically in Florida.
Exactly, because of the numbers. They said there is some kind of, well, this has happened, by the way, 2020. Trump said the presidency has been stolen by the Democrat.
And he sued the whole government.
And he asked his supporter to go to the Capitol Hill, and you know what happened that time, and a lot of people have been injured and some of them died. And this is the way he thinks. He thinks this, well, in the other hand, the Democrat look at it in a different way, more democracy for everybody. In fact, he's pushing for a new regulation. He doesn't want anybody come and vote. You have to have the real ID, exact ID, and certain things to be followed up in order to go and vote. In the other side, they are looking for
the Republican Party.
Yes,
okay.
To vote for, not to vote.
To vote,
regardless, for the president.
No, this is their proposal.
Yes.
This is their mandation.
And for the Democrat, it's a different ball. They said we have to make it more easy for them.
More accessible.
Exactly. Like for instance, he does not accept voting by mail. He said because there is a lot of bluffing in it. This is what happened in 2020 because I lost because of this. Things happened. There was no objectivity on this. There are more under the table things happen. That's why I lost. Otherwise, if things gone the way it's supposed to go, I would won that time. But I lost because of what happened. That's why.
So you think that he might object in the future if he loses the election?
I think they are trying to make the people ready to a new scenario which has happened in the 2020 if he loses.
I see.
He will go to the same idea again that this has been stolen as a presidency from him, and because of what happened, the way they voted, the way the pre-voting and during the voting and what have you.
I understand. Let's take another look about something else, a great discussion always with Dr. Muhammad, and we'll come back to him sooner than later. After this report that shows recent polls and indications just 4 days ahead of the election day, hearing directly from voters, bringing the political scenes into the sharper focus, highlighting that the drivers and the stuff that concerns and hopes the challenges which the candidate needed to address in their campaigns. Here's a look.
With less than a week to Election Day, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are campaigning in the pivotal battleground states of North Carolina and Wisconsin as they make their final case to voters. Harris has a narrow edge in Michigan and Wisconsin, while she and Trump remain tied in Pennsylvania. Trump held a massive rally at Manhattan's Madison Square Garden Sunday evening in what was described as the 45th president's final pitch to voters, while Harris made her final pitch in the nation's capital Tuesday at the Ellipse, located just south of the White House and north of the National Mall. Vice President Kamala Harris maintains a narrow advantage in two of the three blue wall states that collectively represent her clearest path to an electoral college victory over former President Donald Trump, according to new CNN polls. In Michigan, Harris holds a lead over Trump by 48 to 43% among likely voters. Harris also leads Trump in Wisconsin, where 51% support her to 45% for Trump. But the race is tied in Pennsylvania, both with 48% support, the largest electoral prize of the three states and a central piece of either candidate's hopes of winning the White House. All three states broke in Trump's favor in 2016, but President Joe Biden won them in 2020. Harris runs much closer to Trump on trust to handle the economy and further ahead of him on handling democracy in both Michigan and Wisconsin, where she also holds wider advantages on key attributes than in Pennsylvania, differences that help to explain her stronger showing in the upper Midwest states. Amid their high-profile closing arguments for the election cycle, both candidates have continued their laser focus on Pennsylvania, which is viewed as the state that will likely determine the overall outcome of the election. With less than 1 week remaining until Election Day, Democrat Kamala Harris and Republican Donald Trump are in a tight race to win over undecided voters. According to the latest polls, few United States presidential elections have been as tightly contested as this one. Harris and Trump are in a dead heat, and the outcome could be decided by voter turnout in the 7 key swing states. From Washington, Dalia Al-Komi reporting for Kuwait Television.
We are also delighted to be joined earlier in a recent phone calls from Washington with a permanent political analyst and writer Dr. Nabil Mikhali, who shared insights and updates on the unfolding 2024 United States presidential campaigns, shedding light on the key strategies and voting and the voter sentiments as the race intensifies, further highlighting the unique dynamics of the election cycle. Let's listen to that and come back with us.
The last few days in the campaign for president in the United States indicated serious trends and displayed interesting developments as how the two candidates, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, are finalizing their effort to reach the White House. On Tuesday, October 29th, Vice President Harris delivered a speech in not too far from the Capitol Hill building, the congressional offices of the House of Representatives and the Senate, to a crowd estimated at 75,000 people. And there was much symbolism in that location because this is the site where former President Donald Trump tried on January 6th of the year 2021 to rally his supporters to protest the election and to stage a wide rebellion against the certification of the results of his campaign against Joe Biden. So basically, the last couple of days carried a very negative language used by Kamala Harris Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And in addition, basically, each one is trying to point to the American electorate that the other is a bad choice. There has been some discussion, for instance, in the media as whether Trump will accept the election results. He said he will accept the election results if they are free and fair. On the other hand, and in a surprise move, the editorial boards of three major American newspapers declined to endorse Kamala Harris for president, and that caused that caused a big debate and a large controversy inside many Democratic Party circles. These newspapers are the Washington Post, USA Today, and Los Angeles Times. This could be viewed as somewhat helpful to Trump, because if the liberal establishment does not trust Kamala Harris to be president, why should the average voters trust her? Some statistics also are revealing close to the end of the month of October, whereby 5 days will be remaining till election day. At least something like 55 million Americans have already cast their votes in the process known as the early voting period. This is very significant, and also it indicates that the elections can cross a figure close to 175 million or even 180. Trump received some good news from pollsters, whereby two polling agencies have moved the state of North Carolina and the state of Arizona from a toss-up to leaning Republican. So Trump now is focusing on Georgia with its 16 electoral votes, and also on Pennsylvania, where he is basically promising to drill the state's energy resources in order to revive its economy. These are the serious developments going on now. It seems that each candidate is trying to mobilize the base of his party. Trump wants to make sure that the MAGA movement, or to make America great again,
Okay, we have a very hot discussion with Dr. Al-Haddad on the air and off the air, and we have reached to one question he would love to answer it. Well, we're going to put this one aside and let's talk about this election before we go to the others one. Could you tell me the difference between today's election and the one in the past 4 years ago? What about the significance aspects that involved this one and it did not involve the other ones?
I can talk about maybe 3 or 4 differences between the election 2024 and the past election 2020 or 2016, what have you. This is the first time a U.S. president been impeached twice.
And talking about Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
During his tenure back in the 2016 until the 2020.
Exactly.
He was impeached twice.
Twice. 2019, and before he was out of office in 21 January. But Congress...
this is unprecedented, never happened
unprecedented.
Before. Okay.
That's number one. Number two, this is the first time for a woman. Well, maybe not the first time, Hillary Clinton before.
Clinton tried it and failed
yeah,
twice.
but a woman of a color.
A color.
A woman of a color.
She's mixed.
She's a woman of a color. She's not a white American. So this is first time to happen in history of American president.
Do you favor that? Do you see this is a leap jump? This is a huge jump in democracy to have some kind of these aspects regarding the woman who's running for an office?
I don't see anything with it. I see. Yeah. Well, first of all, this is the social net of the American people. The American people consist of white, blacks, and Latinos, and Asian, Arab, Muslims.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, anybody American, even the Constitution, kind of Constitution said anybody born in USA.
That's a mandation, yeah.
Yes, it can be a president. At least he has to be 15 years in.
Let's talk about it.
So this is not a big issue. That's maybe also what's unique about this election is also the verbal exchange of both nominees.
Candidates.
Yeah. When you think of the accusation, both of them exchange accusation, both of them quarrels, use a word which is unprecedented before. I mean, each will use a word that insult the other. So it become very personal attack between the two. This claim the IQ of Kamala is less than the let's say abnormal people, while she said he's a narrative and he's unstable man. He cannot trust him to lead the country. He's in a way Satan. So this is a unique for an election like before, during even in 2020. Trump didn't use this word. Biden didn't use this word. In 2012, the same thing. So, but this time, 2024, things is different. But issues the same. Economy, abortion.
Okay, let's focus on what matters to us here in the Middle East. Whoever wins, he's going to have to make some hard decision regarding our conflicts in the Middle East. Who do you think is going to handle this more, probably less? Maybe this party is better than the other party. We're talking about the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. When it comes to the foreign affairs, they have some kind of different ideas how to impose the international law. Who do you think might have the more influence in the Middle East?
Well, if we think global, let's take it global, then go back to Middle East. Global-wise, we have Ukraine, we have China, we have the NATO, and we have the Middle East. Middle East can be divided into two: Iran on one side, and the Palestinian issue, and Lebanon the other side. For Ukraine, as everybody knows, the Democrat lean with Ukraine. Trump is against helping and against putting more money to Ukraine. Middle East, you cannot say this is better or this is worse. Both, they have a solid stand towards Israel, both supporting Israel, both they want Israel to be strong in a different way. Both talk about peace, but peace on one condition, that Israel should be always strong, and we should support Israel in all means, financially, military, and what have you. So you cannot say you have a different point of view regarding the Middle East concerning Palestine or concerning Lebanon. For Iran, it's a different ball. For Iran, Democrat more leaning with, very soft with Iran. Meanwhile, Trump is trying to escalate his attitude toward Iran. He's getting very rough and hard toward the Iranian. So this is maybe the only different in the Middle East. But for our issue as an Arab, Lebanon, Palestine, I don't distinguish between the two. They're all the same. And this is, if you look into the history of the United States, Democrat or Republican, they have the same idea. They need strong Israel in the Middle East.
You hold this, doctor, because 2024 United States elections are shaping up to be one of the most consequential races in the recent history, with key issues like healthcare, education, and the economy taking center stage. Candidates from both major parties are working tirelessly to engage voters in such crucial topics, while new platforms technology continues to transform the ways campaigns operate. Youth engagement is also expected to be driving the force as younger generations become significant voting the bloc, bringing with them and them strong positions on education, reforms, environmental sustainability, and equitable health care. As both parties are aware of the influence of younger voters hold and the adjustments their campaign strategies to address these crucial issues. As the election progresses, social media's role in shaping public opinion and informing voters will also be closely synchronized, as it holds the power to both enlighten and mislead millions of Americans. More details in the following report.
The impact of social media on U.S. election has grown, shaping campaigns and influencing voters' decisions on key issues such as healthcare, education, artificial intelligence, youth futures, and immigration. Social media platforms are crucial tools for candidates to convey their messages directly to voters, shaping public opinion with rapid information spreading. This tool, however, has double-edged effect as it can promote not only transparency but also misinformation. In terms of healthcare, public concerns have become central since the COVID-19 pandemic, which has led candidates to focus on politics aimed at improving healthcare. Issues such as universal healthcare access, reducing medication costs, and ensuring comprehensive health insurance for citizens have taken center stage. Social media has played a vital role in educating people on each candidate's approach to healthcare. Education is also a key topic in these campaigns, with a strong emphasis on funding higher education and ensuring equal opportunities for students across various backgrounds. Candidates are utilizing social media to highlight their visions for modernizing the education system, especially in adapting to current challenges like remote learning and integrating advanced educational technologies. Artificial intelligence, a rising topic of debate, plays a sustainable role in the election as well. Some candidates view AI as means of economic advancement, while others are cautious about its spread, emphasizing the need to safeguard personal privacy and protect data from potential misuse.
Unfortunately, we have reached the peak of our special live coverage for today, covering the 2024 U.S. elections. However, before we end with Dr. Al-Haddad, we have to go to one last question.
Yes, sir.
Sir, we appreciate the time you are spending with us. We would like to be more, I would like from you to be more generous and give us the last question and the last answer regarding the implication of this election for both parties. Where do you see, the bloc and the votings, the scale is going to tip this side or the other side? And also, before we go on the air, you have mentioned something. It's not only the swing states, there are something else like the voters, they swing. Sometimes they lean towards this party and the others leans to the other party.
Well, let's start from the second part of your questions regarding the swing voters. The swing voters is like the swing state. Swing voters, you're talking about voters who are not yet decided to whom to vote. They don't lean to the Republican, they're not leaning for the Democrat, they are very radical. And the votes for the swing voters, almost, you talk about 63% white.
White.
63 of the swing voters, 63 white.
And they favor Trump. When they say white, they favor Trump.
Well, no, I don't think so, because they are not conservative. Usually the young, because 43 of them, of the swing voters, under 45, so they are young. Young people, they are not conservative.
They lean to liberals.
Republican voters over 65 years old. I mean, when you think what's the bulk of the Republican voters, you talk about 60 and above. On the other side, you see the Democrats, they are more in younger generation. But still, there is a 40-something% non-decided young generation whom to vote for. They are very radical in terms of expenditure, very radical in terms of race, very radical in terms of immigration, very radical in terms of abortion. They are with
So the whole thing, because we are almost out of time, the whole thing, it remains to be seen, but we might have a surprise. We never know. What do you think?
Well,
briefly,
for the first part of
30
the question, I think it is difficult to say, because the margin is very minimal.
Difficult to predict what's going to happen.
Different to predict.
Dr. Al-Haddad, always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Please.
I'm pleased to be with you. Thank you.
As we wrap up tonight's program, we hope that this deep into the 2024 U.S. elections has offered you, our viewers, a clearer understanding of the American political landscape and the stakes of this pivotal race. From exploring the structure of the Electoral College to examining the latest polls, we've aimed to give you a comprehensive view of what's unfolding in the lead up to the election day. Tonight's discussion, enriched by reports and perspectives from callers across the nations, shed lights on the issues which matters the most to voters and the voting in the 2024. From the healthcare, education, and AI, the economy, Americans across the country are focused on issuing and the issues which impact their daily lives and their future. Additionally, we'd also like to extend a special thanks to you, to our guest, for his invaluable insights and the expert analysis helping to unpack the data and the trends shaping this election. As the election day approaches, stay engaged, stay informed, and join us for more next broadcast as we continue to track the candidates, campaigns, the conversations shaping the future of the United States. And thank you so much for staying around. We have a lot more coming to you tonight and every night until the end of the election. I'm Ahmed Al-Wasmi. I hope to see you some other time. Take care of yourself and each other and enjoy the rest of the night. Bye-bye.